We haven't even gotten to free agency yet, but I can tell you already, the Eagles are a better team than they were last year, just by upgrading the coaching staff, especially when you get a guy like Sean Desai, who the players didn't even like. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, Dingbat here. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. I gotta tell you, I'm actually pretty excited about the coaching staff that we have right now. Pause. Because the truth of the matter is, we are already better than we were a year ago, especially when you hear the reports that have come out about Sean Desai in recent days and about how much he was disliked by his own players. You can't win like that. No wonder the Eagles collapsed in epic proportions. And I gotta tell you, it's not even the whole story. We haven't even heard the whole entire story yet, okay? But it's pretty crazy. Now, you might be saying, all right, Philly, what the hell are you talking about now? And really, truthfully, I wanted to put this story out, this video out yesterday. I was getting ready to do it, and it was stormy here. Like, you would think you were in Florida during a hurricane. It had to be 60, 70 mile an hour winds. It was pouring, and my electricity went boom. It went out, and it was out like pretty much the whole day. I couldn't even watch the Pro Bowl or anything. And for some weird reason, I don't even understand why. Maybe somebody can explain this to me, because I'm baffled by it. But when the power goes out, right, everything goes out. But I have my iPhone, and I still have the ability to go on cellular data, right? So I should be able to go online and stuff like that. That wasn't even working. I couldn't even get online using my cell data, on my cell phone. Usually when the power goes out, you still can use your cell phone data like if you were in a car driving. But no, it was out, man. I thought it was some like government conspiracy to see if they could like practice an EMP or something around it. At first I didn't know what the hell was going on. It was crazy. But anyways, I wanted to put this video out yesterday, but I didn't have any internet. So what are you going to do? Now, what am I talking about? Well, Jeff Mosher put out something on Inside the Birds, and it was talking about Sean Desai, and it was talking about really how the players didn't like him. Let me give you an excerpt of kind of what was said. So here's what was said, right, on Friday's episode of Inside the Birds. There's a difference between being smart, well-educated, and considered a really good schemer, which Sean Desai was when he got to the Eagles. That's what people would tell us about him. And then also being a great leader, connecting with your players, understanding their needs versus your needs are, making it work when times are tough. And that is the area I didn't realize that was impacted most. I didn't realize until talking to some people down here, this is Jeff Mosher, agents who represent some players, on just how big of a gap there was between Eagles players on defense and Sean Desai. And those two factions not being able to meet in the middle and having an understanding of each other. In the same episode, Mosher also reported that one of the defensive players refused to talk to Desai as the season wore on. And just about a week or so before Desai got relegated into the box, we found out that the defensive secondary was actually coming up with their own scouting reports per safety Kevin Byard himself. If you guys remember, Kevin Byard was saying, yeah, we're doing our own scouting report, okay? Now, Jeff Mosher said in his that he's surprised. This was surprising. This is the least surprising thing to me at all, okay? We knew that the players were not being listened to by the coaches, okay? And of course, that makes sense on why Nick Sirianni would then have to get rid of Desai. Your players were tuning him out. They weren't listening to him. And if it was that bad, then, I think Nick Sirianni did the only thing he could. Okay, so this is a good thing in a way, because at least we're starting to understand. It's a lot easier for me to understand that you would keep Nick Sirianni in a situation like this instead of a situation where he's the guy that they're not listening to. Okay, now I'm going to say this. Some of this could be put out there, and maybe the Eagles want this out there because, when people leave, there always tends to be reports that come out about them. They did this, or they did that, or they were this, or they were that, right? To justify to why a team got rid of somebody. Maybe that's a little of this, but I also don't think so. I also think that this is probably pretty legit. Because and the reason I say it is because it was obvious that the players quit on them. It was obviously the players quit on these coaches. You could see it. You could see it the way they carried themselves. And they said a few weeks before the Seattle game, right, when he lost his job, because he lost his job for that Seattle game. Well, what was a few games before that? A few weeks before it. That was right between the Buffalo and San Francisco game. Just like we said, something happened between the Buffalo game and that San Francisco game. And this is probably part of what it was. Now, here's what else I'll say about this. This isn't the whole story. This can't be the whole story. Because even when Desai went to the upstairs and was kind of out of the way and Patricia took over, they still didn't. They still looked like a team that had totally collapsed. Okay, so my working theory now is that not only were you getting this problem from from Sean Desai, but you were also getting the same thing from Brian Johnson. I don't think it was much different. I think back to that one sideline shot of Jalen Hurts rolling his eyes at Brian Johnson. Remember, we all were talking about that during the season? I think you probably got that from both your offensive and defensive coordinator, and Nick Sirianni was probably the in-between guy, the middle guy trying to keep the peace. All right? Now, I'm saying that because at least at this point, if that's the case, and it was both coordinators, I can at least understand. I can now understand where the Eagles are coming from in keeping Nick Sirianni, because it was the coordinators, it wasn't the head coach. Although the head coach has to be somewhat responsible too. I'm not letting him off the hook. But it's not the coach that they hate. It was the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. That's why when you had the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith interview last week, they were like, we just want somebody that can get us the ball. They weren't surprised at all. They didn't even seem like they were upset that Brian Johnson had left. They all seemed to be okay with it. So, yeah, it looks like the Sean Desai report is probably pretty accurate. There's probably some stuff maybe the front office wants out there, but I'm willing to bet in recent upcoming weeks we're going to find out that the offensive side of the ball wasn't much different in terms of offensive coordinator and the players listening. Why else would A.J. Brown shut down? It's very, very fascinating, to be honest with you. It's quite interesting, to be totally honest. But this makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense. And now you look with Vic Fangio, you look with Kellen Moore. The Eagles wanted to make sure they brought in experienced guys that have had a track record of having players that like to play for them. Maybe in Miami they didn't like to play for Vic Fangio, but it sounds like that's more of a bunch of guys who lived the Miami lifestyle, liked doing what they were doing, and maybe winning wasn't a first or most important thing for them. Most players like Vic Fangio a lot, Kellen Moore as well, and so it's really going to be interesting what this offseason brings. But if these reports are right about Sean Desai, and there's got to be some truth to it, it just makes sense, then yeah, I would say that we have upgraded ourselves a ton by getting these new coordinators. And it would make sense, too, that, listen, think about this. If you already have to go out and replace your defensive coordinator, it's a lot harder to want to replace publicly your offensive coordinator as well, because the truth of the matter is it's going to look bad for a team to get rid of two coordinators at the same time when you're, 10-2 or whatever the Eagles were at the time. So it makes a lot of sense. And yes, this is exactly what we talked about. The players quit on the coaches. They tuned the coaches out, and that's what we're seeing. So all I can say is this: the Eagles are in a lot better situation from a coaching standpoint than they were a year ago. And so now we're going to have to find out what they do in free agency. I still think the most important move and the very next move you have to make is you have to go out and you have to find a way to extend Hassan Reddick. And the reason I say that is Hassan Reddick is your biggest playmaker on defense. And yes, he's 30 years old, and yes, I know people don't want to pay him $20 million, but I think you have to extend him. You have to keep him. If you lose him, who are you going to have to rush the passer? Literally, Nolan Smith didn't show you enough. All right, I like Josh Sweat as a secondary pass rusher. You still need to go out and get a guy. So if you let Hassan Reddick walk, then you're going to have to go out and make sure you get a Brian Burns. I want to go out and get like a Brian Burns or a pass rusher anyways. But I want to keep Hassan Reddick. So you have to, in my opinion, keep Hassan. Try to sign Hassan Reddick to like a 2-3 year extension. Give him a bunch of upfront money. Save about $11 million in cap. Cut Kevin Byard, okay? And then you can even renegotiate or restructure Josh Sweat's contract. But that should give you enough money to go in to free agency. You know, and it's going to be interesting what players the Eagles go after. I also think you have to really get DeAndre Swift re-signed too. I think Swift and Hassan Reddick are your two biggest, most important things that have to happen next. Take care of those guys, get them under contract, and then you can focus on, free agency and stuff like that. There's a lot of interesting names being attached to the Eagles that we'll get into in another video. But right now, to me, getting the coaching situation solved, which now with this whole Desai thing makes way more sense than anything we heard before. And then on top of it, or added to that, you got to get Hassan Reddick extension done, and you got to get DeAndre Swift signed. Those are the two things that need to happen right now. Besides the fact that you still have to fill in all those coaches and get them ready too. That's going to be important. With that said, take care. I'll talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision, baby. We're all just living in it. It's Monday. Let's start this week with an epic Dallas Cowboys collapse. Denzel Washington out.
Come on, guys. 2 minutes to go. You have plenty of time.
Come on.
Oh, shit! Dad! No!
It's over! It's over! This game is over! Cut it off! It's over!
Fuck.
Congratulations, Green Bay! Congratulations, Green Bay! Congratulations, Green Bay!
I said run the ball.
Congratulations, Green Bay! Dak Prescott, you need to be fired today! That was on you, Dak! That was on you, Dak! That was on you, Dak!
I said run the ball.
That was on Dak Prescott! Trying to feed the Lamb! Trying to feed the Lamb! You tried to feed the Lamb! You got to give it to C. Lamb! God! It's over! It's over, Dak! Put Trey Lance in the game. Trey Lance can't do worse than you.
I'm an idiot because I buy into this shit. Because here's the thing. I am a grown-ass man. And I talk the talk. It is killing me.
I feel it coming. You gotta do something. I feel like it's gonna take Jerry Jones taking. Cut it off. It's over.